Hey, what up everyone? This is going to be a different video than probably what many of you are used to on this channel from the past, but instead of just focusing on wrestling and making this channel just a wrestling channel with me coming back and doing videos, I wanted to discuss my other hobbies as well, which other than being a huge wrestling fan, my other big hobby that takes probably way too much money from my pocket, but is one of my favorite hobbies is record collecting. And when I was up in New York City, there was many stores I wanted to visit and check out. One of the ones that I got recommended by tons of people in a lot of record groups was A1 Records, which is on down in the Village, and I gotta say that was one of my favorite ones I did go to. Two other ones that I definitely would recommend anyone that does make a trip into NYC and does collect records as well. Generation Records down near West 4th Street. That is a great store, especially if you are a fan of metal, punk, new wave. And they even had a pretty decent selection of hip hop. Every single store in New York I went to had a ton of jazz records as well. That seems to be one of the main genres, I guess, that sells very well in New York is jazz, which doesn't really surprise me at all. And then the other store that I liked a whole lot is actually one that was very damn close to the hotel I was staying at. This one other store was Rock and Soul, which was basically like a record store slash equipment store, and this was a fantastic store. Um, didn't really have too much good as far as used vinyl on sale, but as far as like new presses, reissues, and everything, they were incredible because there was tons of stuff like the music on vinyl, which I love finding any of that stuff, which most of the time when you do find it, it's going to be a lot of stuff that's very out of print online. You can't find it, or if you do find it online, it's going to be charging out the ass. So they had a really good selection of everything. They had a whole section on the side that was just hip hop, and then 12 inches, and then pretty much every type of other genre, then a huge rock section. So found a lot of good stuff there. So just kind of wanted to use this video to kind of talk about my experience going to these stores and at the same time showing y'all what I got as well. And if this is something that interests you, I'll probably be doing more videos like this because as much as a lot of us do like wrestling, there's other things that we are interested in following. Like I said, record collecting is one of my hugest hobbies that has probably taken up tons of time and definitely way too much money. And anyone that's a record collector can attest to both of them. Once you get into the hobby, it's hard to get out of it. And another thing is you definitely spend a lot more money than you probably ever want to. But yeah, let me get into what some of the things I found. The first store I went to was on Friday. I went to Generation Records. That was down on near West 4th Street, near and down in the Village. And some of the stuff I found was stuff I've been looking for online that either was completely sold out or just more expensive than what they were actually charging in the store. A lot of these are very good deals. First thing I got was been getting into a lot of Britpop recently, like a lot of the 90s Britpop, and I had to get this when I saw this was the Charlatans, Head Full of Ideas. This is a compilation album that they just pressed in 2021. Very hard to get right now online. And then the next two I found were group I love, Echo and the Bunnymen. They just reissued all of their stuff last year, and when they first reissued it, I knew I was probably going to regret not buying them immediately when they first came out because as soon as they got put out, they completely sold out, at least on Amazon. You can still find them on Discogs for reasonable prices. They're not extremely rare to get, but when I saw them, I couldn't pass on them because it's not something you see too often at any record store, especially down here in Virginia. You're not going to find stuff like this. And got Echo and the Bunnymen Crocodiles. That's probably my favorite album from Echo and the Bunnymen, so I definitely had to get that. And then had to get Heaven Up Here by them as well, which both of them were pressed at 180 gram heavyweight vinyl. So those definitely can't wait to listen to those. Next one was probably my biggest find because I've been wanting this album for a while and been telling myself that I want to start getting into having a collection of Sonic Youth albums. The only one I have so far is Evolve. That's the only one I had before this. I actually got this one, and I actually found another one at another store. But this is the one I wanted the most because I've always loved this album. Is A Thousand Leaves. I had to get that, and especially this pressing. This was the new remastered pressing that was actually done from the analog master. So when I saw that, and it was actually reasonable price. I'm actually seeing it on here, $34.99. Couldn't pass. Had to get that. And I'm a huge Morrissey fan, solo, and obviously love the Smiths. So when I saw an unofficial copy of a Morrissey live album from '88, couldn't pass on it. Had to get it. So that's what I did find at Generation Records. So got to give Generation Records thumbs up. Definitely will go back there whenever I go back to New York, and definitely a store I recommend. Then the next store I went to after that, did find a few things. This was kind of a store I would probably say I wouldn't give completely 2 thumbs up, but I wouldn't give it 2 thumbs down. It's a store I would say, since it's in the area, it'd be worth checking out. This was Village Revival Records. Now, they had a shitload of records. Like this, walking in the door, this is probably the one record store I went to that I've seen the most records I've ever seen. I mean, wall to wall, up on the ceiling, fucking boxes on the ground. The only thing that I would say that was bad about this store, the one negative, was the store was misorganized. If you looked around for a while, like if I probably would have stayed in there another hour, I might have even found more stuff. But the store was just misorganized. Wasn't it, like almost every store is known to like mix everything up by genres or like new arrivals, new releases. This was pretty much just like, here's A through Z of everything. And it's not split up in any fucking genres. So that was the downturn of it. Now, the guy that ran the store was super fucking cool, very nice. Talked to him for a while. You definitely could tell he was a music enthusiast, so that was the positive thing about the store. But like I said, the negative was just how misorganized the store was. But I would say if you're in the area and you're going to Generation Records, it's pretty much within walking distance, very close there. So if you're in the area, check it out. But if you're not within the area going to another store, it's not worth going out your way. But if you're there, check it out if you have time. What I found there was huge Atmosphere fan. I think I pretty much owned every fucking Atmosphere album you can think of, and I actually found a maxi single there. This is Lake Nokomis. This was one maxi single that I've seen online a couple times that went for a little higher price than I wanted to pay. Mostly seen it for like $20, $30. Found this here for like $12. So find it like that, and it has 2 or 3 songs that are only put on this maxi single. So had to get that. The next one was a group I was looking for to find something of when I was up there. I have all their actual albums, but I was kind of hoping I would find some of the rare 12 inches that were put out back in the 80s, the import 12 inches, and that's Susie and the Banshees. But then I did find this unofficial bootleg copy. This is a Susie and the Banshees concert from, let me look at it. It says 1980. This was actually when they were in California Hall, San Francisco. So most unofficial releases nowadays actually sound pretty good. If this was like an unofficial release that was put out like 20, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have ever took a chance with, because there's a difference nowadays with bootleg releases than they were back in the day. Back in the day, bootleg releases sounded fucking awful. Now sometimes bootleg releases can sound just as good, if not sometimes almost better than the actual official copy, which is kind of funny that can actually happen. Then the next 2 I found, first thing I found, they actually had a lot of backlog from Record Store Day in the past, and this was actually one thing I wanted to get a while ago on Record Store Day. I can't remember which year this came out. This was Tegan and Sarah. This is Tonight in the Dark, Where We're Seeing Colors, and this is one thing I've been wanting to get for a while. I remember I could not find it at all for Record Store Day, and then it was one of those albums, you know, as soon as the releases come out for Record Store Day, tons of scalpers buy the shit, sell it, and then selling at outrageous prices. I remember this was one of those albums I wanted that I was like, I would pay a few dollars over retail, but it was going for crazy amount, much more over retail than you ever would want to buy. And then the other album is a pressing of an album that I just wanted to get, that just came out pretty recently, but got sold out very quickly on mostly all online distributors, and that's Cat Power, her album Covers, where she covers a lot of artists. She does a cover of Frank Ocean, Nick Cave, Iggy Pop, The Progs, and many others. Billie Holiday as well, I see. So have not heard have not heard the album, but it's been one thing on my list that I've been wanting to hear for a while. Then after this is probably my favorite store that I might have went to. I know a lot of people will probably going to include A1 as their favorite shop in New York, and I probably would say A1 wins by default, just for the simple fact that A1 Records did have more rare quality stuff, like stuff you would never fucking see, more expensive albums, stuff that no store would ever carry. But the next place I went to was Rock and Soul DJ Equipment Store. This was on 37th Street, very close to my hotel, very quick walk, maybe like a 10-minute walk at best from the hotel, which when you got a pretty good record store and one of your favorite ones right near you, that's a great thing on your trip. But I found a lot of good stuff here. This store found a mixture of stuff. I went in here thinking primarily this is going to be where I'm probably going to find some rare hip-hop stuff I've been looking for, which I did find. But I actually found stuff that was non-hip-hop that I've been actually looking for as well. So that was a plus right there. And this store definitely gets 2 thumbs up. Definitely a store you need to go to when you are in NYC. First album I got, which is one I actually did not have a copy of. This is Music on Vinyl, KRS-One, Return of the Boombap. Probably one of my favorite solo KRS-One albums. And this has been a pressing that I've been passing on for a while, just because it's been going for way too much online. I think I got this for a little under, I got it for about $35 for Music on Vinyl press, and that's a damn good price. And definitely couldn't pass on that. Definitely can't wait to listen to that. Next one is something I did not expect to find there, but this was another. It seemed like a lot of these New York stores had a lot of backstock from past record store days. So I actually found another thing from a past record store day that I actually wanted. This is the House of Wax soundtrack. Now, this is probably one of those horror movies that when it came out, you either were in the category of you either liked it a lot or you fucking hated it. I didn't like it too much when it first came out, but over time it's kind of grown on me to be one of those horror movies that it's not great, but it actually was pretty much a decent remake, reboot, or whatever you want to call it. It was actually done pretty well. But this soundtrack, I mean, when you have the Prodigy, My Chemical Romance, Deftones, Disturbed, Marilyn Manson, The Stooges, and Joy Division on there, how can you fucking pass on that? And a lot of those songs were only on that soundtrack as well, or they were like alternative cuts. So definitely had to get that. Then one of my favorite 80s songs, and I think anyone that loves any 80s new wave, or even if you don't love 80s new wave, who cannot love Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams? So when I found the 12-inch of that, very cheap price, had to pick that up. Then another Sonic Youth album I found. This was one I wanted as well. This was Daydream Nation. So probably found pretty much the 2 that I wanted the most of from Sonic Youth. So that was great. And then I pretty much ended my Smith's collection as far as I already had all the actual albums, but this was actually the only compilation I did not have, and this is The World Won't Listen. Has a number of tracks that actually aren't on too many of the actual other compilations, either Hatful of Hollows or Louder Than Bombs. So this was a very good pickup. Has a great, even though I haven't opened it yet, I already know what it looks like in the inside. It has a great gatefold, and anything that I can add to my Smith's collection is always great. And then this was probably one of my biggest finds as far as a hip-hop album, because Scarface has always been one artist that I've loved as far as a hip hop artist. Obviously, loved him and the Ghetto Boys, but he had a great solo career as well. His solo stuff in the last like 2 3 years has been harder to come by than it used to be. It used to actually be fairly easy to get anything from him, and this is actually the one that I wanted the most. That's now kind of got more sought after in finding, and that is Scarface the Fix. So had to get that when I saw that. Definitely can't wait to listen to that as well. And then I found, as you can see, found a lot of shit at Rockin's Old DJ. Then I found a compilation of Mantronics. If you love anything like instrumental beat tapes of hip hop and anything like that classic hip hop sound from the late 80s, early 90s, you gotta love Mantronics. They were a great group. And then found two Bjork albums, which almost actually missed these when I was looking at the store. Then just right before I left, someone told me, let me look in this section, see if there's anything I missed. And I actually did miss these in the first time I was there, and got Bjork's debut album from '93, and then the follow-up that came out in '95. So the only one I'm actually missing from her now that I actually want is the '97 album Homogenic. So hopefully I can find that sometime as well. Then after that, went to another store the following day. This was Academy Records on 18th Street. This was probably the only store I would say isn't worth going back to, even though I did find a few things. But it was kind of one of the stores that kind of caught me off guard, because going in there, I was expecting, like every record store, a huge vinyl selection. When you went in there, you had this little section in the front, and then on the side that had, new arrivals and everything, but not much vinyl. It was probably, I would say, 200-300 records, maybe, and that's probably overestimating it. Then in the back, you had a ton of classical albums on vinyl, which isn't a genre that I collect. Not a collector of classical music. No offense to it, it's just not something I get into. There can be some good classical music, but most of it is fairly boring in my sense. At least the little bit I've ever tried to give a chance with. But what I did find here found a 12-inch I've been looking for a while. This is Nonfiction's I Shot Reagan. Great 12-inch. Love the song, and obviously incredible cover that they put out back in the day. Then I found Raekwon's Only Built for Human Link Part 2. That's not something you see too often every day, so I do got to give them that. The things I did find there is stuff I definitely would not find locally, and not even locally. I wouldn't really see much in other stores as well. Then I found Public Image. This is one of their later albums. This is album. This is What You Want, which actually has one of the good later songs from them, which is This Is Not a Love Song. So it's not a great album from them, but for the price that I paid for it, it was fairly cheap, so it was worth picking up while I was there. Then they actually had a sealed copy of this one Last Poets album, and pretty much anytime I find like Last Poets stuff and it's really cheap, or especially if I find it sealed, I can't pass on that. I'm going to get that. So like I said, Academy Records, I would probably give that store, I wouldn't necessarily give it thumbs down. I would kind of give it thumbs in the middle. It's one of those stores that if you're a collector of CDs, has a shitload of CDs. The one section that I wish I would have looked at more, just because I bet you there might have been some interesting stuff in there. They did have a lot of like weird, interesting DVD, Blu-ray sections. It looked like they had a lot of out-of-print stuff. So if I do go back there and head to that area again, I might check it out just for that reason, because there might be some interesting like Criterion DVDs or just random movies that you would never find too often anymore, and especially with the DVD and Blu-ray market pretty much being dead, could be some interesting stuff there that might have been like pretty good deals as far as prices. But obviously with it being a store that's selling stuff, they kind of know what they got on hand, so it's not like you're gonna get something that's pretty much a for free copy. So I mean, it might be worth going back to that. Then the last store I went to, which was the store that everyone recommended to me, which was A1 Records. Definitely gotta say, great store. Like I said, I would definitely classify it as the best store in New York that I went to. The only store I did not go to that I did want to go to, which was right near there but did not have time, was, I know Straddled Records is right near A1 Records. So when I do make another trip back to New York, which I'm probably going to do either sometime in the late spring or fall, so definitely we'll have to go back there and check that out. But let me get into what I did find at A1 Records. First one thing I found, did not expect to find this there. This is White Stripes, the Steel album. This is actually the Vinyl Me Please Essential copy that came out a little while ago. This is one thing that I actually did want from Vinyl Me Please, did not catch it in time, so wasn't able to get it when they actually did put it in their Essential Club that month. So definitely a good find right there. Next one was a really good find, Bulworth soundtrack. Anyone that remembers this, wasn't actually a good movie. This was around the time where in the 90s and early thousands, you had that like little 10-year gap. I would probably almost say it started like in 95 and then ended probably like 05, 06, where you had some shitty fucking movies that got put out, but they had bomb-ass fucking soundtracks that you had to get. And this was one of them, and this is a damn steal. I found this for $18, and it was actually still a sealed copy, which I was actually surprised that, you know, it was a sealed copy. It wasn't a promo copy or anything. Wasn't edited or anything. I had to look at that first to make sure that it wasn't a fucking edited copy, and that's why they were giving it away that cheap, but that was a good find right there. Then next album is something I've been looking for a long time. This is Anthrax, State of Euphoria. This is probably my favorite Anthrax album. This is actually like the 80s, 90s Anthrax sound that I just fucking love. Definitely one of the best thrash metal groups of all time. Then the next album, this was the biggest fucking find that I found. Did have to pay out the ass for it. It was a $90 album, but the thing is, it actually goes for well over that online, and you don't even find it. And this was actually a sealed copy, so that even added to it. The Dr. Octagon album, Octagonalist. This is from '96. This is Cool Keith's alter ego that he did, and just great stuff. Definitely when it comes to underground hip-hop and underrated albums from that period of like the late 90s, the Dr. Octagon album was one of them. Then they actually had something else on the wall that I actually just bought about a year ago, and I had to pay a lot for, which was one of my other favorite independent hip-hop albums. That was Company Flow, Fun Crusher Plus. They actually had a copy of that too as well. So when you have two of like the rarest like albums that came out in the late 90s as far as independent hip hop, that definitely is saying a lot for your store. Then saw this, had to get it. Malcolm X, The Ballad or the Bullet, his infamous Ballad or the Bullet speech. Had to get that when I saw it. It's fairly cheap. Very cheap. Could not pass on that. Then speaking of Company Flow, which I just talked about, actually found a Company Flow album. This is Break-In Instrumentals Volume 1. This is just like a beat tape instrumental album from them. Just showcases the like gritty, raw sound they just came out with, and just great stuff. Then another album, which you don't see too much albums that were put out from Raucous Records back in the day. And found this. This is Ego Trip, The Big Payback, the soundtrack to Ego Trip's Book of Rap Lists. This mainly has, let me see, mainly has like Grandmaster Caz, Positive K, Marley Mars on there, and a couple other independent artists at the time. But that's like one of the labels. Whenever I see anything from Raucous Records and I don't own it, it's like a must-have. It's like that was like the one record a label in hip-hop that, you know, supported independent hip-hop back in the day that if you saw that Raucous label on anything, you were guaranteed it was going to be great hip-hop. It was not going to be anything you were going to regret picking up. And I actually found that already, listened to it earlier today and loved it. It was actually only $10 and it was sealed, so that was a damn good find. But then one thing I've been looking for a while, and I actually found this sealed as well. Already opened and listened to it already. That's Self-Destruction from the Stop the Violence movement back in the 80s. In my opinion, probably one of the important hip-hop songs ever, probably other than Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message, obviously, but this is probably one of the most important hip-hop songs ever, and unfortunately still resonates to today, which is pretty sad, unfortunately. And then the last album I got, did not know this got put on vinyl back in the 90s. Got it for a reasonable price. This is Public Enemy, The Greatest Misses, which was kind of funny. I found this because about a week before heading to New York, a little while ago, I actually just found a cheap CD player that I could hook up to my stereo, and one of the very few CDs I actually kept when I got rid of CDs was, for some odd reason, I don't know why, maybe because it was the cover, or I had trouble just selling and getting rid of it at one point, but I actually still had this album, Public Enemy, The Greatest Misses, on CD, so I was just listening to it on CD not that long ago, so it was kind of cool that I found that there. So yeah, that's what I did find in New York City. That's my vinyl haul right there. If this is something any of y'all would want to see more of, I definitely will do more of these. Just to end this video, because I know some people were asking in the comments of the last video I did when I reviewed my time at the GCW Hammerstein show. Some people were wondering, will I be giving my thoughts on the Royal Rumble pay-per-view coming up? Which, like I said, don't really watch WWE too much, but I am off on vacation this week. Don't have to go back to work till Monday, so I probably will be checking out the Royal Rumble this Saturday, and I will be giving my thoughts on it. Hopefully, maybe for a change, it might actually be a good WWE show. It actually doesn't look like complete shit on paper, so we'll just wait and see. But yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see y'all. Peace.